Welcome to Moneyverse USA. For more than a century, the US dollar has been the heartbeat of the global economy. It's the money that powers trade, buys oil, and pays debts between nations. But lately, that heartbeat is starting to sound uncertain. Around the world, countries are quietly preparing for something most Americans don't even want to think about: the day the dollar loses its crown. Let's imagine this. You wake up one morning, and the news says the dollar just crashed overnight. Gas prices have doubled, your grocery bill is up 50%, and your savings suddenly buy less than they did yesterday. It sounds impossible, right? That's what people in other empires once said before their money fell. The question isn't whether the dollar can fall. It's whether America is ready if it does. To understand how we got here, you have to look at the system the dollar built. After World War II, the U.S. emerged as the most powerful economy in the world. Other countries needed American goods, American credit, and American protection. The dollar became the world's default language for trade. Nations trusted it because they trusted the stability of the United States. That trust gave America enormous power. With the dollar at the center, America could borrow cheaply, import goods easily, and control the flow of global finance. But every empire in history has one thing in common. At some point, the rest of the world gets tired of playing by its rules. In the last decade, that's exactly what's been happening. China, Russia, and even U.S. allies like Saudi Arabia have started making deals that don't use the dollar at all. They're testing alternatives, quietly building a new system that doesn't rely on Washington. It's not loud or dramatic. It's slow, it's deliberate, and it's dangerous for the American middle class. But what happens when that trust starts to fade? Over the last few years, we've seen warning signs everywhere. When the U.S. froze hundreds of billions of dollars in Russian reserves during the war in Ukraine, other countries took notice. They asked a simple question: if America can seize another nation's money, who's next? Suddenly, nations began quietly moving their reserves into gold, Chinese yuan, and even crypto. They didn't see the dollar's strength isn't just about global trade. It's about your life. The reason you can buy a phone made in Asia for a few $100 or fill your tank without paying European prices is because the dollar has been strong. The reason America can run huge deficits, print trillions, and still borrow money cheaply is because the world still trusts the dollar more than anything else. That trust is what keeps inflation from spiraling out of control. It's what keeps our entire economy balanced on a knife's edge. Team makes speeches about it. They just acted. Because in global finance, you don't announce when you're losing faith. You just leave quietly. Meanwhile, back home, inflation has eaten away at the dollar's purchasing power. Americans are working harder than ever, but feel poorer each year. Groceries cost more, housing is unaffordable, and debt is climbing. The national debt recently crossed $34 trillion and rising. Every second, the government borrows more than it can repay. The only way to keep the system alive is to print more money. But every dollar printed makes every existing dollar worth less. It's a slow erosion, like water carving through rock. You don't see it day by day, but over time, it changes everything. The danger is that we're trapped. If America stops printing, the system collapses. If it keeps printing, inflation explodes. Either path leads to the same question: how long can the dollar stay the world's anchor? Let's look at what happens if that anchor breaks. When the world no longer needs dollars to trade, demand for the dollar drops. Foreign countries dump U.S. debt. Interest rates rise. The government suddenly has to pay more just to keep borrowing. That means less money for roads, schools, and defense. It means higher taxes, higher mortgages, and a weaker economy. The average American would feel it fast. In their bank account, their rent, their grocery bills, their retirement savings. Now, to be clear, the dollar isn't dying tomorrow. It still powers about 88% of all global trade. It's still the currency of confidence. But cracks are forming, and history shows how quickly cracks can turn into collapse. Britain learned that when the pound lost its dominance. It didn't happen in a day. It happened in decades of denial, overspending, and wars that drained its resources. The U.S. is following a similar pattern, with trillion-dollar deficits and political gridlock replacing real fiscal discipline. While America argues others are acting, China is leading a global movement called de-dollarization. It's signing deals with countries across Asia, Africa, and the Middle East to use its own currency instead of dollars. It's building digital payment systems that bypass U.S. banks entirely. India is experimenting with its own central bank digital currency. Europe is talking about a digital euro. Even small nations are exploring ways to trade without touching the dollar. This isn't theory, it's evolution. And then there's crypto. Bitcoin was born from financial crisis, built on the idea of money that no government can manipulate. For years, it was dismissed as a fad. But today, it's a hedge against uncertainty. When banks collapse, Bitcoin spikes. When inflation rises, people turn to decentralized assets. It's not mainstream yet, but every time someone chooses Bitcoin over a dollar, the system loses a bit of control. That shift isn't just financial, it's cultural. It's a rejection of the old rules. So where does that leave America? If the dollar weakens, we'll face a reckoning unlike anything in modern history. Imports will get more expensive. Inflation could surge. The government may be forced to cut programs people depend on. The stock market could tumble as foreign investors pull out. And once the global perception changes that the dollar is no longer the safest bet, it's almost impossible to get that trust back. But here's the thing, collapse isn't destiny. It's a warning. America can still adapt, but it requires honesty about where we are. We can't keep spending trillions without accountability. We can't treat the dollar's dominance like a right instead of a privilege. For decades, we've lived beyond our means because the world kept lending us money. Now that world is quietly asking for the bill. The solution isn't simple, but it starts with rebuilding credibility. That means smarter fiscal policy, investment in real production instead of speculation, and innovation that makes the dollar worth trusting again. The U.S. still has the biggest economy, the deepest markets, and the most influential culture. Those advantages don't disappear overnight, but they can fade if we take them for granted. There's also opportunity in change. The same technologies that threaten the dollar, like blockchain and digital currencies, could actually make it stronger if America embraces them. Imagine a digital dollar that moves instantly across borders, cuts transaction costs, and competes directly with China's digital yuan. That's not science fiction, it's already being tested. The question is whether America leads that revolution or falls behind it. Let's bring it down to your life. If you're an American worker, saver, or investor, what can you do? First, Understand the system isn't built to protect you. It's built to sustain itself. So take control of your money. Diversify your assets. Learn about alternative investments. Don't rely solely on the government or Wall Street to secure your future. History rewards those who prepare before the storm, not those who react after it hits. If the dollar does weaken, life will get harder for a while. But hardship also forces innovation. When confidence fades in old systems, new ones are born. The question is whether America will shape that next system or get shaped by it. Right now, we're standing at that crossroads. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. No currency lasts forever. Every empire, no matter how powerful, eventually faces a moment when its money stops being enough. Rome did, Britain did, and someday, America will too. But that doesn't have to be the end. It can be the beginning of something better if we learn, adapt, and lead again. The dollar's power was built on trust, and trust can be rebuilt. It starts with people who demand better from their leaders, from their economy, and from themselves. The future of money isn't written yet. It's being shaped right now by technology, by global politics, and by the choices we make every day. So when you hear people say the dollar could never fall, remember, they said the same thing about every empire before it. The question isn't whether the dollar will die someday. The question is, what will rise in its place? And will America be ready when it does? Because in the end, money isn't just paper or numbers on a screen. It's trust, power, and belief. When that belief shifts, everything else follows. The dollar gave America a century of dominance. What comes next depends on whether we've learned enough to earn another one. This is Moneyverse USA, the place where we talk about the real future of wealth, power, and the truth about the money you use every day. If you found this video eye-opening, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it, because understanding what's coming next isn't fear. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, share, comments. Hit the bell icon for more videos about finance and money tips.